Good day sa lahat ng ating viewers, most especially sa mga senior high school students taking General Biology 1 for this semester. Welcome po sa ating panibagong lesson na tatalakayin for this session. Hello, kumusta sa mga STEM students dyan? I hope na makatulong tong video na to sa inyong lesson. So for this session, we will going to discuss lesson 1, which is the cells, the building blocks of life. So, pakilala ko muna yung sarili ko. I'm Sir Kiko, your lecturer for this session. There are three main topics we are going to cover. First, the cell theory. Second, structure and function of major and subcellular organelles. And last one, we have the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. You will also explore the major classifications of cells and contrast them based on their cell structures. In this lesson, you will also have to reflect on how cells carry out functions required by life. Before we start our lesson, you may type your questions or clarifications in the chat box or in the comment section. You may also message me in my FB account. So let's start. The invention of the microscope led to many advances in the study of science. By the 1830s, many biologists were using the microscope as their chief investigation tool. Their discoveries and breakthroughs were especially important in building one of the key theories in biology. One of these is Matthias Schleiden. So in 1838, Schleiden, a German botanist, concluded that all plant tissues are composed of cells and that an embryonic plant arose from a single cell. So, he declared that the cell is the basic building block of all plant matter. This statement of Schleiden was the first generalizations concerning cells. Another one is Theodor Schwann, a German zoologist who made a microscopic investigations of animal parts that led him to generalize that all animals are made of cells. During the 1850s, most people, including many scientists, thought that new living things could spontaneously arise from non-living matter. A German biologist, Rudolf Virchow, disputed the idea of spontaneous generation. Virchow reasoned that all living cells come from pre-existing living cells. So those are the three biologists who involved in the discoveries in building key theories in biology. Let us first have a short recap of the early discoveries and breakthroughs on cells so you can better understand the principles that make up the cell theory. We will go to enumerate the three major principles of the cell theory. All you need to do is to interpret each picture and so you can state the ideas that make up the cell theory. I will give you 30 seconds to make your own statement based on the given pictures. Based on the given picture, in number 1, it states that cells are the basic units of structure and function in organism. For number 2, all living things are composed of one or more cells. And last one, for the third picture, it states that all living cells arise from pre-existing living cells. The invention of the microscope in the 16th century has extended the range of human eyesight. Through the advent of microscopy, humans can now see details that were previously unknown. The structures have been magnified 50 or 100 times. So through the years, new techniques for studying cells and organisms have become available. So with these developments, scientists are able to discover more about the basic building blocks of life, which is the cells. Now, we will going to be more familiarized with the animal cell and the plant cell. We will go first for the animal cell. So, those are the structures or the parts of the animal cell. So, we have the nucleus. Next is nuclear pore. So nuclear pore is a part of a large complex of proteins known as the nuclear pore complex that spans the nuclear envelope, which is the double membrane surrounding the eukaryotic cell nucleus. Next is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, the cytoplasm, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, the ribosomes, we have the cell membrane, the mitochondrion. Next, we have the centrosome, the microfilament, the microvilli or microvilli. Next is secretory vesicles, the microtubules, the Golgi apparatus, the lysosome, the peroxisome, and the part of the nucleus, which is the nucleolus, nucleoplasm, and the nuclear envelope. So later we will going to discuss deep more on the functions ng mga cell structures na to. So ano ba yung mga functions nila? And for the structure of the plant cell, we have the chloroplast, the mitochondria. We also have the cytoplasm, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, the nucleus, the nucleolus, the nuclear envelope, the cell wall, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, the ribosomes, the Golgi apparatus, the peroxisome, and the plasma membrane. So those are the cell structure of the plant cell. So tulad nga ng nasabi natin kanina, cells are the building blocks of life. So despite their small size, na pagkaliit-liit nila, so cells are by no means simple structures. So cells function like miniature factories, constructing new molecules from the raw materials. So at any moment, cells may be taking in nutrients, making new molecules, sorting, secreting, and storing chemicals, and also breaking down foreign materials. So what about organelles? So organelles are the cell structures that perform specific functions. So in many ways, organelles are like machines in the factory, so each with a specific role. The cell has three fundamental parts. So number one is the cytoplasm, so where the main metabolic life activities take place. And then the second one, the cell membrane, which surrounds the cytoplasm. And the third one is the nucleus, where the genetic material is stored. Okay, so the cell organelles have grouped into four categories by general function. These are the manufacturing, the breakdown, the energy processing, and the structural support and movement communication. The cell structures involved in the manufacturing group are the nucleus, ribosomes, rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and also the Golgi apparatus. Ano nga ba yung function ng nucleus? So, dito nangyayari yung DNA and RNA synthesis, and also the assembly of the ribosomes. Next is the ribosomes. Yung function naman ni ribosomes, dito nangyayari yung protein synthesis. Or pwede natin sabihin ng ribosomes ay isang micromachine na naggagawa ng proteins. Next is the endoplasmic reticulum can either be smooth or rough. In general, its function is to produce proteins for the rest of the cell to function. The rough endoplasmic reticulum has on it ribosomes, which are small. And last one, we have the Golgi body, also known as the Golgi apparatus. It is a cell organelle that helps the process and package of proteins and lipid molecules. Under the group of breakdown, we have the lysosomes, the vacuoles, and the peroxisomes. The lysosomes, or the function of the lysosomes, is the digestion of ingested food, bacteria, and the cells damage organelles and macromolecules for recycling. Next is the vacuoles. The function of vacuoles is also for digestion. It also the storage of chemicals. For the peroxisomes, its main function is to diverse metabolic processes with breakdown of hydrogen peroxide by product. For energy processing, we have the mitochondria and the chloroplast. The main function of mitochondria is conversion of chemical energy of food to chemical energy of ATP, or the adenosine triphosphate, while the chloroplast is the conversion of light energy to chemical energy of sugars. Let's try to look the differences and similarities of mitochondria and chloroplast. Let's go first with the differences of mitochondria and chloroplast. So, in mitochondria, in terms of shape, it is in rod shape, while the chloroplast is lens shape. Next, in mitochondria, it contains cristae, folds of inner membrane, while the chloroplast, it contains stroma, thylakoids, and grana. Mitochondria does not contain photosynthetic pigments, while the chloroplast, it contains photosynthetic pigments. The mitochondria found in all cells, plant and animal, while the chloroplast, it only found in plant cells. And last one, the mitochondria involved in aerobic respiration, or it uses oxygen, while the chloroplast, it involved in photosynthesis, it produces oxygen. For the similarities of mitochondria and chloroplast, they both have, or they provides cell with energy. Next, they both double membrane structure. Third, they contain own RNA and DNA. And last one, they have similar enzymes and coenzymes. Under structural support, movement, and communication, we have the cytoplasm, cytoskeleton, centrioles, cell membrane, and the cell wall. So what is the function of the cytoplasm? So cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance that holds the cell organelles in place. It is also the site of many chemical reactions. For the cytoskeleton, it serves as the structural support or road for transportation. The centrioles, it serves as the helpers in cell division. Next one is the cell membrane. The function of cell membrane, it separates cell from the outside, or it controls what enters and leaves in the cell. For the cell wall, it also encloses and supports the cell. Okay, since you have already understood the different organelles found in a cell, please bear in mind that not all cells are alike. So we have the bacterial, the plant, and animal cells may be similar in many of their features, but due to complexity in structures and physiological reasons, some organelles are found in animals but are not found in plant and bacterial cells. For this question, what cellular components are shared by bacterial, animal, and plant cells? So we will going to compare the bacterial cell, animal cell, and plant cell. For the similarities of bacterial cells, plant cells, and animal cells, for number 1, DNA or the chromosomes are all present in bacterial, plant, and animal. For number 2, for the cell membrane is also present in bacterial, plant, and animal cells. For number 3, structure to produce energy for cell or for the cell respiration for bacterial cells No. For plant cell and animal cells, yes, in organelle called mitochondrion. For number 4, structures that make proteins and enzymes for the cell. For the bacterial cells, yes, in ribosomes. In plant cells and animal cells, yes, happens in endoplasmic reticulum. In terms of cytoplasm, are all present in bacterial, plant, and animal cells. For the differences of bacterial cells, plant cells, and animal cells, for number 1, for the cell wall, present in bacterial and plant cells, and absent in animal cells. For number 2, for the nuclear membrane, present in plant cells and animal cells, but absent in bacterial cells. For number 3, fibria or the DNA transfer, some in bacterial cells, but no in plant cells and animal cells. For number 4, for the vacuoles, absent in bacterial cells, but present in plant and animal cells. For number 5, for the chloroplast, yes in plant cells, no in animal cells. For the bacterial cells, yes in blue-green bacteria, has a green pigment that makes its own food. For number 6, flagella or for the mobility, yes for the bacteria, and no for the plant and animal cells, or it is absent in plant and animal cells. For number 7, for the capsule, some in bacterial cells, but no or absent in the plant cells and animal cells. Next question is, what cellular components are shared by prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? As you have seen the similarities and differences between bacterial, animal, and plant cells, it only shows that animal and plant cells are more complex than bacterial cells. Due to structural complexity, many biologists thought that cells can fall under different classifications for physiological reasons. A lot of investigations were made until they conclude that two structurally different cells have existed. Bacteria and archaea consist of prokaryotic cells, whereas all other forms of life are composed of eukaryotic cells. Okay, so what is a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells? So the prokaryotic contains nuclear materials not enclosed by a nuclear membrane, or it doesn't have a true nucleus. While the eukaryotic cells, it contains nuclear materials enclosed by a nuclear membrane, or it has a true nucleus. Let's see how well you have enjoyed the amazing world of cells by answering the following questions. Okay, for question number 1, which of the following statements is not part of the cell theory? Or letter A, cells are the smallest living things. Letter B, all organisms are composed of one or more cells. Letter C, cells come from other cells by cell division. Letter D, eukaryotic cells have evolved from prokaryotic cells. So the correct answer for number 1 is letter D. Question number 2. What is the common feature of cells of many bacteria, plants, and fungi which is not found in animal cells? Letter A, mitochondrion. Letter B, plasma membrane. Letter C, ribosome. And letter D, cell wall. And the correct answer for number 2 is letter D, cell wall. Question number 3. Who has the greatest significance to the development of the third tenet of cell theory? Letter A, Matthias Claydon. Letter B, Rudolf Virchow. Letter C, Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Letter D, Theodore Swan. The correct answer for number 3 is letter B, Rudolf Virchow. Question number 4. Peroxisomes got their name because hydrogen peroxide is blank. Letter A, used in their detoxification reactions. Letter B, produced during their oxidation reactions. Letter C, incorporated in their membranes. Letter D, a cofactor for the organelles enzymes. The correct answer for question number 4 is letter B. It produced during their oxidation reactions. Question number 5. Which of the following clues would tell you whether a cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic cell? Letter E, the presence or absence of rigid cell wall. Letter B, the presence or absence of nuclear membrane. Letter C, the presence or absence of ribosomes. And letter D, whether or not the cell contains DNA. The correct answer for question number 5 is letter B, the presence or absence of nuclear membrane. Question number 6. A plant and an animal are both living things. According to the cell theory, what can you conclude about these two very different organisms? Letter A, plants have cells but animals do not. Letter B, they both come from the same kind of cell. Letter C, they are both made of one or more cells. Letter D, they both come from a non-living organism. The correct answer for number 6 is letter C. They are both made of one or more cells. Question number 7. What do chloroplasts and mitochondria have in common? Letter A, both are present in bacterial cells. Letter B, both organelles function to store pigments. Letter C, both organelles function to produce glucose. And letter D, both are present in all eukaryotic cells. And the correct answer for number 7 is letter D. Both are present in all eukaryotic cells. For the last question, number 8, which of the following structures is not directly involved in cell support or movement? Letter A, cytoskeleton. Letter B, lysosomes. Letter C, cytoplasm. Letter D, cell wall. The correct answer for question number 8 is letter B, lysosomes. And that ends our session for this lesson. For our next video lesson, we're going to discuss the cell types and cell modifications. If you have questions or clarifications, you may type it in the comment section or message me in my FB account. Huwag rin kalimutang mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel para updated tayo sa mga susunod na video lessons.